What weird theories did you have as a child that make absolutely no sense now that you're older? That when you flexed your arm muscles, the aim was to get your lower arm as close to your upper arm as possible, so your hand would be near your shoulder. I'd go round proving to everyone how strong I was. Ah, you made me do it. I also thought that teachers had no lives outside of teaching at school. I figured that they teach at school, go home, grade papers, go to sleep and repeat every year. Some of my teacher friends would tell you that this is a reality. Sugar and salt neutralize each other. Adding the same amount of both would result in no taste. Just like pasta and antipasta. That boys came out of daddy and girls came out of mommy. Well, technically they come out of both. Mom and dad are having money issues? Duh guys, just go on a game show. Yeah, or just write a check for whatever you need. I used to think that taking a shower with hot water running over my stomach would burn off the fat and show the six-pack underneath. I'm still disappointed it isn't the case. I believe two things. 1. When a man and a woman made love, the baby instantly came out. 2. You know on a toilet you have a lid, a seat, and the bowl. I used to think that the seat was for people with normal size butts and the porcelain part was for people with very large butts. I thought the butt thing too. I always wondered about really fat people. I used to think the Coca-Cola trunks carried the soda like oil, without any bottles and just splashed from side to side, and then they filled the bottles when they got to the store. I used to think that people took planes to get places because their destinations were in the sky. I was convinced that Peru was up in the clouds, like heaven, because we went to Peru once when I was a little kid and we went up through the clouds to get there. Apparently I was asleep during landing. I asked, what if I grow taller too fast and my feet can't reach the ground? From age 5-7, I would tell my parents that I was adopted and my real parents died in a train accident. My parents got a little freaked out after a while because I would go into detail on everything. When I was really young, before I understood how the planet worked, not that I do now but certainly better, I used to have this worldview that we lived inside of the planet, rather than on top of it. It seemed logical to me, given that we would obviously just fall off the planet if we lived on the surface, right? I basically thought we lived in bubble. My best friend told me that when he was a child he thought that when he sat on the toilet the jolly green giant would stretch his arm all the way through the plumbing and reach up into his butt and scoop out all his poop. He was quite scared of pooping for a while. When I was a kid, my older brother had me convinced that skeletons lived in the sewers and ate poop. If they got too hungry down there, they'd come out of the toilet looking for kids to eat. Sometimes they'd get lucky and find someone eating there already. I wouldn't go to the bathroom without my mom standing guard at the door just in case until I was at least 7. That babies came in a pattern, like boy, girl, boy, girl. I always used to think that in a traffic jam, if you honked then the one in front of you had to honk, and the one in front of him and so on until it reached the one all the way in the front and the queue would ease up. I wish it was that easy. Cows were males and horses were females of the same species. Same with dogs, males, and cats, females. I didn't recognize that cows and bulls were the same animal until I was in 6th grade. I used to think hot dogs were made out of dog meat, and never understood why Chinese people got so much crap about it. Butt cheeks were filled with poop. So people with big asses are full of crap. I wasn't happy when my parents told me Santa Claus wasn't real, so I decided that he was real, but most parents think he isn't because he can only deliver so many presents, and uses a lottery system to pick which families get presents from him. I thought VHS tapes sent a signal to the actors animators to redo the entire movie. I used to think that the man would pee in the woman to make babies. To be fair, it's kinda similar. I thought that everyone had one special skill or talent and that all they had to do was discover what they were supposed to be doing with their lives and they would be happy. I felt bad for all the people who by fate or chance never got to find that one thing was supposed to be. Like if someone would have been a great accordion player, but never held one in their life. I grew up believing that girls peed out of their butts. I was told that girls didn't have dongs. Never got the you have a dongs and girls have twats part. Just heard girls don't have dongs. Therefore, my thought, if girls don't have dongs, how does their pee get out? My solution, obviously it comes out of their butt. Before I knew about vaginas, I thought that maybe a door opened on women's back to get the baby out. Also knew about you transfer DNA before this is intercourse, so I figured that's what kissing does. When I moved from Michigan to Tennessee at 5 years old, I thought that the cows in the field were just cardboard cutouts sitting out there. That there were humans and human beings, earmuffs and headphones designed for one won't sit right on the other. Source, at preschool kindergarten age, I attempted to put a set of earmuffs on the dog. They didn't stay put and my mom said those are meant only for human beings. I misheard and wrote my own crackpot theory. I used to think it was human beings too. Lol, I was real upset when I realized it was beings. I thought my first orgasm was an unlocked superpower. I thought this for years until I learned what the word orgasm meant. That is the world's best superpower. I thought I could end homelessness by building little houses under bridges just big enough for a person to sleep in. In each house I planned to fill it with a bed, a teddy bear, and a box of Fruit Loops. I really believed I could change the world in my 5-year-old brain. Curse you reality. Curse you. That is legitimately beautiful. People like you make me okay with life. That parents have an unlimited supply of money, but they won't share it with you to buy toys and stuff. That scientists wrote scientific laws. I remember being mad at Newton for making things heavy. I thought that large predators, weed, mountain lions and bears, were immortal. The Last Unicorn was my favorite movie as a child, and there's a quote in there that you must never run from anything immortal because it attracts their attention. Mountain hiking safety 101 was you must not run from bears and mountain lions if you encounter one on a trail because it attracts their attention and they will eat you. Ergo, bears and mountain lions must be immortal. A friend of mine told me that if you touch your forehead a million brain cells die and you will get stupid. I still don't like to touch it. For a very brief period, I was convinced, I tell you, that I discovered a means by which I could cure every disease that plagued mankind. It was so simple, so elegant, so obvious, really, that I was surprised nobody had yet thought of it. Of course, that was the beauty of the solution. Not only was it sure to work as a veritable panacea, but it would be incredibly easy to prepare and administer. The only reason that it hadn't been tried was simply because nobody else had made the simple connection that I had. 1. Germs, as everyone knows, make you sick. 2. Soap kills germs. 3. Shorts hurt, but they keep you from getting sick. Therefore, an injection of soap would kill all of the germs in a person's body and keep them from ever getting sick again. Unfortunately, clinical trials of the idea were thwarted when the authorities caught me filling a turkey baster with bubble bath and rightly assumed that no good could come from it. That you started off small, and as you got older you got bigger, until at 80 you started to get smaller again until you became a baby and started the cycle again. Hello Benjamin. I thought that the gas price for a gallon was how much it was to fill up the whole tank. I never understood why people complained about gas prices. When I was a young Christian, I would ask the elders in my church lots of questions. An important one was what would happen to people who died without ever hearing about Jesus. The answer I got from my particular church was that they would go to heaven because they never got the chance to reject Christ. So, one day I got the idea that we should stop sending missionaries out to people who may have never heard about Jesus, because what if they're not very convincing, but by telling them about Christ, we have essentially damned them to heck. I took it a step further and really started loudly and passionately suggesting that we burn all Bibles and tear down all churches and everything that mentioned Christianity and start keeping Jesus a secret. I knew that God would be mad at us for that, but maybe he would forgive us and every single person born on earth from now until the end would make it to heaven. We had to leave that church. When I was younger, about 4ish, whenever I had chips for dinner I would sort the smaller chips from the bigger chips and only eat the large ones. The smaller one would be placed in my pocket to be found by my mum when she washed my clothes. The reason I did this was because I believed that the smaller chips were little chips and that one day they would grow into adult chips. My intention was to keep the chips and allow them to grow into adulthood, but being a child my attention span wasn't that long and I always forgot they were in my pockets. You're a monster. You were going to raise the baby chips to be adults and then slaughter them by eating them, ha ha ha. I used to watch old silent and no color talkie movies when I was kid with my dad. So I thought that the world used to be black and white and that one day someone just added color. I thought that blowing into a depleted Capri Sun juice box would replenish it with actual juice. I repeated this at least 3 times every juice box. I used to believe that people had a finite allotment of words, use them up, and you'd be mute for the rest of your life. Sometimes I wish this was true. When I was younger, I thought that at some point people just grow up. As if there's a day where adulthood just hits you and you suddenly stop being a kid and your mindset changes to act more maturely and you suddenly begin to care about grown-up things and not about kid things. I thought this even up to my teenage years until my extended family was in a big arguing phase where everyone was acting like kids in high school. I asked my mom why they were all acting like that and she replied with something I'll never forget. "What, did you think people actually ever grow up?" I replied. "Well, of course," she said. "Nobody ever actually grows up. They just get older." My mom has infinite wisdom. Guns shoot fire. On the radio, all music is live and the people sing it in real time. I used to wonder if the entire world was just acting and I was the only one who wasn't. That our shoulder blades contained wings for when we become angels. Autobots transform. That my 2nd grade teacher was a superhuman and could move so incredibly quickly that she was constantly changing her appearance and moving around the room at all times so that she could impersonate every person I knew at once. That lying completely flat under the duvet would make me invisible. An object in motion stays in motion only when it is observed. I had no reason to think this, I just did, constantly. You have been visited by the money bird. It'll bring you good fortune, but only if you subscribe in 42 seconds or less. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.